As I played through my first few games of NHL 25, I couldn't help but feel this nagging sense of deja vu. EA Sports' hockey franchise has long promised innovation and improvements with each new release, but after spending some time with the game, I found myself wondering if the series has lost its way. The core of the gameplay remains enjoyable with smoother skating and improved AI, but much of what surrounds the foundation feels too familiar, and not in a good way. Whether it's the rehashed modes or the presentation flaws, NHL 25 feels more like a refined update than a true new experience. When it comes to gameplay, NHL 25 makes some solid strides. Thanks in large part to the new Ice Q and Sapien technology, skating feels smoother and more natural, giving players more fluid control on the ice. The overall game speed has been fine-tuned as well, making for some realistic hockey. Passes, shots, and puck control feel sharper, and the improved AI is noticeable right away. The AI players no longer sit passively waiting for something to happen. They actively cycle the puck, look for open ice, and make smarter plays. But not everything is flawless. The animations still suffer from occasional jankiness, especially in more crowded areas or during hits, which can break immersion at key moments. The new skill-based one-timers are nice additions, but they feel like a bonus feature rather than a selling point. Similarly, the full pressure system, while good in concept, still feels awkward in practice, largely due to how much it favors the offense and its intrusive on-ice display. Next-gen vision control, another selling point from EA, brings back the left trigger /L2 button for players. It can lead to better overall passing and even defensive play. But for how fast the game can go, you often find yourself forgetting about it. And that's because it doesn't feel necessary. You can still play quite normally without it. One of the biggest issues, however, remains the Frostbite engine. While it powers some of the game's improved visuals, it still feels unsuited for sports games. A more dedicated engine could push the series forward in ways that NHL 25 simply can't. The game modes in NHL 25 are where the lack of innovation is most notable. Be a Pro mode, for example, is essentially the same as it's been for years. The same cutscenes, the same conversations, the same predictable experience. It feels like an abandoned mode that EA remains content on refreshing every 4 to 5 years or so. There doesn't seem to be any sort of investment to make it regularly engaging. While I don't need a full-blown story mode, I want something worthwhile to play, and Be a Pro isn't that. Franchise mode offers some quality of life improvements, including better contract negotiations, deeper player interactions, and improved stat tracking. I like the addition of perks and promises to convince players to sign, but the overall depth still feels lacking. You still can't do a 3-team trade, and there's no option to extend the league after you started your franchise. That means if you wanted a 33rd team, it has to be added before you even start. These are small annoyances, but they pile up and make the mode feel less than what it should be. And for longtime players, it might not feel fresh enough to warrant much excitement. There's also still no online franchise, a mode that's been missing for 11 years. Moving to online play, World of Shell still holds up as the most fun mode, but only if you're playing with friends. The team-based chemistry is where the mode shines, and it's a blast when everyone is on the same page. Playing solo, however, can be a frustrating experience, especially when teammates don't sync up. HUT or Hockey Ultimate Team remains as divisive as ever. Either you're into building your team and chasing cards or not. The addition of wildcard mode brings something new, but it's not a game changer. Unfortunately, there's no real women's leagues and no real coaches, both of which are glaring omissions. On the surface, NHL 25 looks great. Player models are sharper, the ice looks crisp, and the small touches like the updated score bug makes a big difference. EA has done an excellent job refining these little details. The new camera angle for replays add to the depth, especially for those who enjoy putting together highlight reels. However, the in-arena presentations remains underwhelming, falling short of the immersive atmosphere you would expect from a current-gen sports title. One of the most disappointing aspects is the goal celebrations, which awkwardly cut to a dark, detached scene before returning to the more traditional celebrations. It completely breaks the flow and feels out of place. There's also an issue of commentary. While James Cebulski continues to do a fine job, after several years of hearing the same voice, it's time for something new. The commentary has grown stale, and a fresh perspective in both could do wonders for the game's presentation. At the end of the day, NHL 25 feels like a series in need of direction. The gameplay is the highlight, with the updates doing well enough to make the on-ice experience enjoyable. But beyond that, the game struggles to justify itself as necessary. The lack of innovation in key modes like Be a Pro and Franchise, the same old commentary, and the presentation flaws make it feel more like a mid-season update than a brand new game. If you haven't played an NHL game in a few years, NHL 25 might feel fresh enough to justify a purchase, but if you're a yearly player, it's hard to recommend. Stick to NHL 24 or even NHL 23 unless you're a die-hard fan who needs the latest release. We're giving NHL 25 a 6 out of 10.
I love this save, James. I mean, the goaltender is so aggressive on this play, doesn't give the shooter any time to get rid of it. I really want to look at this last save again, James, because this is about...
If you guys like the content we do here on Sports Gamers Online, then hit that like button and subscribe to SGO right now. And if you want the most out of your SGO experience, then join SGO Insider.